Good evening, everyone. Let's recite the Om Nam mantra, which is the universe in its purity, 7 times before we begin the talk. Om Nam. 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 Welcome again, everyone. Special greetings to our friends from Israel. It's nice that you came in such great numbers to practice with us in this week, and I hope that we will have many more occasions for doing this together and practicing the Dharma together. And if it's about practice, because this week is about practice, coming here and doing this intensive retreat with us, what comes to my mind first is that Zen practice is really simple. And if you look at it, what we teach, what is in Zen Master Seung San's books, what is in the Kongans, it's also fairly simple. You could get the gist of it in maybe 3-4 pages. So it's not like quantum physics or pharmacology. Still, simple doesn't mean it's easy. So sometimes something is just simple, it's very, very hard to do. And as I gather from my practice and also listening to many practitioners now and trying to help them to move on the way, I see that it's very, very hard to do, and we need vigilance, mindfulness, and lots of effort to be able to do this and to really reach the potential which is already present in us, as shown by our great teachers before us. So the human mind has incredible capabilities and also has the capability to transcend suffering, but it needs lots of work and a clear mind. So when you think about the Buddha, you all know the story of the Buddha who left home, left his family, left his kingdom, and practiced incredibly hard for many, many years, and also doing lots of stupid things. He already maybe sometimes died or so something, and then just came back from the brink of it. So he did lots of practice, and in the end he said, okay, now I sit down under the Bodhi tree and I don't get up, only if I'm enlightened. If I don't wake up, then I will die. So that was the Buddha. And also Bodhidharma did hard practice, but if you just look at our immediate predecessor, Zen Master Seung San, he also did extremely hard practice when he was young. He also almost died, actually. So you see that all these great people who left such a legacy for us, to help us, did things which we may never do. Most of us are not thinking about doing practice where we could die. I can say that I never had this idea, so yeah, in theory, yes, but then I said, okay, no. So, but they did, so yeah, you could say that you don't have to die in practicing, but it shows that, well, these people had to work really hard for these simple things. But then again, if you look at other stories found in the Zen tradition, like the story of Ma Zhou, who was a great Chinese Zen master, when he was young, he did also extremely hard practice. He was basically always sitting. And everyone in the Sangha thought, and the monks, the fellow monks, okay, well, this guy, now, really excellent. But of course, the Zen master, his Zen master, had other thoughts, and, you know, he thought, okay, this guy is always sitting. I'm going to go and check on him. So he went to, sometimes in the night, to the Dharma room. Ma Zhou was sitting there, and he asked him, well, he wasn't called maybe Ma Zhou back then, but, well, student, so what are you doing? Master, I'm meditating. Oh, and what do you want to reach with meditation? Well, I want to wake up. I want to become a Buddha. That's interesting, said the Zen master. And he went out. He went out and grabbed a rock and grabbed a tile, a roofing tile, you know what is on the roof of the buildings. And he brought these two things into the Dharma room, sat behind his student, and began to rub the rock to the tile. And it made an extremely bad sound. Ma Zhou was sitting and trying to focus, being in great samadhi. Maybe this went on for some minutes or hours, who knows. And then after a time, the student Ma Zhou became very, very, very angry and turned, what are you doing, master? I cannot meditate. Well, I'm making a mirror. A mirror. How do you think, master? Are you stupid? So you are rubbing a tile with a rock that will never be a mirror. Then the master says, yes, you are right. And if you are just sitting and meditating hard, you will never become a Buddha. Well, and then the mind of Ma Zhou opened up and said, okay, well, where do I make the mistake? Said Ma Zhou. And the Zen master said, well, if you have a horse and a cart, and the cart is not moving, where do you hit? On the cart or on the horse? Of course, on the horse. So you don't have to kill the body, you don't have to torture the body. It's the mind where you have to focus. And so Ma Zhou heard this teaching, and after that, he changed his practice and became a great Zen master. So this already shows you something about practice. You have to do it hard, you have to make effort, but even too much effort or doing it without wisdom, that's problematic. And there is another dimension where we can look at practicing people, and it's their lives and how they live. And that's also interesting, because look at some of the great teachers who came to the West. Came from Asia, from Tibet, from Korea, from China to Japan. They went to America, and they went into this very liberal world where all the lay people were coming in and listened to the teaching. And many of these great, great Zen masters couldn't keep in their pants. Meaning they regularly had sex with their students, they sometimes led extreme lifestyles, and they transmitted these lifestyles to the students who did the same. Maybe these students, some of them amassed great money, and so on and so forth. One Tibetan teacher even had a kind of harem of women around them. So yeah, that's very interesting. They had wisdom. They had clear mind to a point, but they somehow, when they were put into a very different culture with very different things, very different women, for instance, they couldn't keep clear. And they, of course, said usually, well, it's crazy wisdom, I can do anything. But that's not true. So it's also this dimension to our practice. How do we live? So actually, that's why I say the teaching is simple but hard to do. And we are all humans. These masters, these great masters, they were also human beings. So I usually find it's not so good to glorify them like they would be gods. They weren't. But they were human beings striving to do something better, something to develop something better. But of course, to understand this, we need a framework. That's my thing. Maybe that's not a Zen thing, but I usually find that when I have a clear framework in my mind about the practice, about the teaching, then my practice also goes better, and I can spot my mistakes sooner than, hopefully, than later. So actually for the framework, we don't have to find very special new things. We just need the Buddha and the Buddha's teaching. I mean the Buddha Shakyamuni. He basically taught that we need 3 dimensions when we are practitioners. We need, of course, wisdom. That's what we try to develop, prajna. We need practice, good concentration, meditation. So that's samadhi. And we also need correct life. And that's what he tries to do, to show us with the precepts, with the sila, the vows we take. So actually, what he taught was the Noble Eightfold Path, and this is basically wisdom, the precepts, and meditation. And you have to balance all these 3. If you have only wisdom, after a point it's no good. If you only do just meditation, that will be also problematic. Just look at Majo. And if you just only try to adhere to some vows, to some precepts, or you just try to be a good person, well, that's maybe not so bad, but maybe you won't have any practice and wisdom. And then it's just, following something which other people tell you to do. Okay, if you don't lie, that's good. If you don't have wisdom, well, why? Sometimes it's convenient to lie. Why not do it? Sometimes it's convenient to have sex with everyone in the Sangha. Why not do it? Of course, you can say, okay, the Buddha said don't do it. But, well, maybe you don't do it because you don't have wisdom. So, always reflect on your life, on your practice, on your mind. Where do I have needs? Where do I have to do more practice? So, if you balance these 3, you will be okay. And it basically means, first, try to clean up your act, as they say in the US. So, try to lead a life where everything is in decent order. So you look at the precepts, which you usually take when you come to a Sangha after a time. The 5 precepts are for the lay people. So don't lie, don't deceive others, don't have ill will and anger towards others, don't steal, don't have sex with everyone who they don't want to have sex, or you cheat on people, so don't kill. And when you come to retreat, you need extra precepts. We try for the retreat to live more like monks, so sense restraints. We don't speak, we try to don't speak. And then, of course, all the other factors are just within boundaries, so you can focus on practice. And the wisdom in that is that if your life is in disorder, you won't be able to focus. Even if your life is in order, even then it's hard to do the meditation. But if you have to fight with lawyers because your wife tries to divorce you, and you have your lovers, and the police is after you, and so on and so forth, and you don't pay the tax and all that. Well, then you can do mantras or so, but it will be very, very hard. So it's just common sense that first you try to do order in your life. And I remember when I started to practice, I had many strong desires. I still do some. I have some. And I didn't really, you know, when I thought about these precepts, I thought, okay, I come from a Christian background, and it was always, you know, if I'm not good, if I'm not a good boy, then God will punish me. So there was this kind of bad impression for precepts and vows that, okay, I have to fear something. Well, in Buddhism, it's more a grown-up style, so you can do whatever you want, but you always plant seeds into the soil. You can plant beans, you can have mango seeds, you can have all kinds of seeds, watermelon, but if you planted bean, you will have beans. If you plant watermelon, you will have watermelon, but from the watermelon, you won't have beans. So actually, that's basic Buddhism. You plant the seeds, and then you reap what you planted. So actually, look at your life, and what you have now, that's the result of all your actions from before. You can work with it. And what will happen later on, you can do something for it. It's not grace. It doesn't come from outside. It's not like if you pray enough, then maybe you get something. Maybe you get wholesome states and happiness. No, it's more grown up, like you plant the seeds, the right seeds, and you will have the right plants, maybe flowers or fruits later on. So be very mindful what you do now. What do you plant? So we are planting, actually, when you come here and we do this hard practice. We are like gardeners. We go out to the garden. Maybe there are all kinds of seeds there, and also maybe all kinds of weed, and it looks horrible. Then you realize, okay, it looks horrible. I have to do something to have a beautiful garden. So you try to pull out the weeds, and then sow the good seeds, and then water them, and have good sunlight, and so on and so forth. So you cultivate a garden, and that's what we try to do. And this begins with a correct life. So right speech, right actions, right livelihood. That's where it begins. Sometimes people in the West don't want to hear that. They just want liberation, happiness, freedom, and Zen looks good because that's what it promises. Crazy Zen masters, kongans, and crazy wisdom. But, you know, it's still Buddhism, so if livelihood is not in order, then you have problems. And then, of course, meditation. So why do you need meditation? Meditation in itself is just a tool. So, yeah, you can do whatever you want. You can have great samadhi. But if you don't use this, then it's no good. It's just like an empty cup. If I don't have water in this glass, I cannot drink anything. So basically, a clear mind and good samadhi, good concentration, good mindfulness is just a cup. But it's needed. So if you don't have a peaceful mind, if you don't have clear mind, if you don't have energy, if you are not focused enough, if you cannot pay attention for long enough, then wisdom is not possible. So you cannot look at the things and really see how they are. So if the mirror is not clear, you don't see clearly. And what do you have to do? Well, basic teaching in Buddhism says that the great problem is greed, desire, and hatred, anger. So the two big polarities. You either want something very badly or you hate something very badly. When you are in this state, you are like a magnet, an electromagnet. So if you have electrical current in an electromagnet, it is magnetized and, well, something is drawn to the magnet, but another magnet, maybe the other pole, it's the other way around. So then you have this polar relationship to everything around you. And please remember that greed and hatred are fuels. And what are they fueling? They are fueling ignorance. So not seeing clearly. If you have too much greed, too much desire, too much hatred, you don't see clearly. And that's our great problem. That's why we suffer, that we don't see reality, we don't see ourselves, and we don't see our processes clearly. That's called in Buddhism ignorance. And ignorance feeds desire, greed, ill will, anger, hatred, and these in turn make ignorance stronger. So that's why we practice so hard, and that's why all these great masters also practiced hard to clear up this desire mind, to clear up this hatred mind, and reach some clarity. So that's why you need samadhi, right samadhi, to clear up your mind, to make it more peaceful. And then you can have wisdom. So then you see things as they are, hopefully with less and less ignorance, less and less views fueled by desire and hatred. And if I quote Zen Master Seung Sahn, Zen Master Seung Sahn always said about the Eightfold Path, the first two factors which is wisdom basically, right view and right intentions, which stem from the right view, that the right view in reality is no view, which is basically this. This is the best right view, when your mind is clear and sees clearly without the fetters, without defilements. So wisdom is not just knowledge. It's some knowledge which is based on experience. So if you just learn Buddhism, if you just learn Zen, or if you just pass kongans without that really getting into you, transforming you, it's just knowledge. And well, if you just have knowledge, even if you have Buddhist knowledge or Zen knowledge, but it doesn't transform you, you will be just a well-informed sufferer. But you won't have wisdom. So you can see that in, academics maybe from university. They are very, very clever. They know everything. There are also professors of Buddhism who know everything about the sutras. I will never know so many sutras as they do. Maybe they don't know 84,000 volumes of sutras, but they suffer. So, well, if it doesn't transform you, it's no wisdom, it's just knowledge. So, look at all these three things and try to remember it. It's not so hard. So, wisdom, meditation practice, and some virtue or order in life. And wherever you feel a little weak, then focus on it. Try to make it more stronger. I meet it a lot of times that people want to practice, but yeah, their life is in ruins. So then go to a psychologist, go to some helper professional, ask for help in the Sangha. Don't be alone and try to get out from these ruins, and then you can go further. That if you only just have, knowledge and right livelihood but no practice, then focus more on practice. And if you don't feel really, that you grasp the things, if you don't feel in your body what the Buddha also taught us, that, well, the life we live and we in it are impermanent, that we have no real fixed self, and we suffer all the time. And when you are alive, you are also suffering. So being alive and suffering, they are the two sides of the same coin. And if you don't do something about it, it won't be better. So until you really come near to these facts, which I think most of us know, then you are stuck on the wisdom side. So actually, I don't know if you know about it, but in the Western world, we usually fear extinction. That, okay, we die and maybe we are annihilated. Or if we are religious, then we think, okay, well, if I don't conduct myself like the commandments say and like God says to me, then, well, I don't know, maybe I don't get to heaven and I don't have an eternal life or something, or I go to hell or something like that. But if you compare that to some Buddhist thought, that's the other way around. Oh, maybe I will live forever. Oh, and I will suffer forever. So you have, in Asia, there is actually a psychological, in Asian psychology, it's known that you can have reincarnation anxiety. We have death anxiety, there they have reincarnation anxiety, that you will reincarnate and you have to begin from, primary school or kindergarten, and then everything begins. So again, so actually that's the Eastern system. So even if you die, but you don't get liberated, it begins again, and you will suffer. So they try to get extinction, and in the West they try to get eternal life. But whatever the system of thought you have, it's not good, not bad, but don't get attached to it. That's also the basic wisdom of Zen. That's why we have so many kongans. That's the main point of Zen, I think. Don't get attached to your ideas, to your thinking, because these ideas and these thinking processes create you and create your life, create your direction and create your suffering, but can also create your happiness, whatever you want. So be mindful, pay attention, look at your life, look at your practice, and try to see things as they are. That's why we come here, and that's why we come here until we die. I would say that I was very unsure in the first several years of my practice, and I had some ups and downs, and sometimes I left here thinking, okay, maybe I will never come here again. It's bad, it's really bad. My legs are like crap now, and they always have pain, but then I always came back after a time, and I can say that I still have ups and downs. But I know that some practice, for me Zen practice, is an absolute must. So if I don't do it, and if I'm not try to get more wisdom every day, and by the way, try to always underestimate where you stand in the way, because so how advanced you are. The greatest thing, the greatest mistake you can make is that you overestimate your, your realizations. No, don't think anything, just day by day, try to do the practice and be present. And then, hopefully someday, you will have more and more and more freedom in your life. And all this practicing and wisdom creates more space in your life. And actually, you can change the state of your mind. That's, by the way, usually some problems which I usually meet, that when we have problems in our life, our mind becomes very narrow. So that's one thing also what we do, is to get this narrow mind to open up. And when you have a big, spacious, open mind, maybe your problem which you have in your life doesn't have to be solved, because it just dissolves. So try to remember that. I also try to do that. It helps me a lot. That when I'm in a problem, in a difficult situation, okay, don't make any decisions. Don't try to solve it right now. Just try to get more space, more dungeon, and then maybe it will solve it by itself. So this is our practice, and this is why we do it. And I try to inspire you a little, because it's really hard to sit here. And try to remember these when you come to the Dharma room, and do it sincerely. And then with that, you can help yourself. And if you help yourself, you automatically help others. So thank you for your attention. And if you have questions now, we have time for some discussions.
So I want to say very much thank you for your teaching. I really love your teaching, in the face and clear, and thank you very much. Always a pleasure. I wanted to ask, I was living here in the temple, and for me, this how it works. It makes everything clear in my life. When I came back to my country, so I made also my life very clear. Everything have some kind of structure. And it made me to understand like which kind of things or thinking is managing me, or which kind of things, here in the temple, if I do some mistake or go after my desired mind or something, things are just keeping being the same. There is a teacher, there is a sangha, and every morning we wake up and go to practice. But in life outside maybe, or just, outside the temple, so it's not like this. So, and I do my best, I do my practice, I do my job as a partner, as a kitchen manager, as a practitioner, as whatever I do. Still, sometime, I cannot get beyond my desire mind, and that's really difficult. So when I'm here, I am able to overcome it because I get more energy and more space. But when I'm at home, the condition and the situation and all what reality is needs from me, just I don't have really the energy to overcome it. Then I'm weak, and then sometimes I'm falling. And when I'm falling, just getting to some cycle that it's hard to get out of. So I probably understand and know. So you are a layman, and you not living in the temple, and you're also a teacher, and maybe, I already know the practice, I already know what I should do and everything. So how you overcoming this mind in your daily life outside the temple?
Okay, so how to solve the human life? Yeah. I have one good advice for you. So practice, stay close to Buddhism. Hopefully in some next life you will become a celibate monk, and you will be a celibate monk for some time, maybe some lives, and then hopefully you burn up all your passions, become inhuman, and then disappear.
Thank you for the teaching.
Just that's a joke, partially a joke. Okay, yeah. If I would be a Theravada teacher, that would be no joke. You know, yeah. In Theravada and in old Buddhism, you could even just say that also about women. Sorry. So, you know, it was like for women, okay, very good practice. Maybe next life you become a man. And then after you become a man, maybe you become a monk and then get enlightenment. Okay, so that's the old Theravada style. What I want to say is that if you live in the life, it's very hard. So, yeah, everything there is not organized like here, or we at least try to organize it like that, that it would support your practice and this kind of practice. If you look around in the world, yes, we are here among us, and you always see 10, 5, 30, 40 people who think that this teaching is precious and something to do. But outside, most of the people wouldn't even understand this kind of practice and this kind of wisdom which we try to realize. So that's, and it's not because they are stupid or, you know, they just don't match up with this kind of teaching. It's like, I like classical music. If I go to a concert and they play a Beethoven symphony or Bach, well, I'm mesmerized, and I after 3-4 days, it was such a good concert, and I sometimes invite people with me, and usually it's like, well, it was just the first part. Well, how many minutes? Oh, 40. Oh. And then they don't get anything from Bach or Beethoven, and they don't come again. so this is basically like this. Maybe you get Beethoven and you get the B minor Mass from Bach or not. So this is also the teaching. And most of the world doesn't get Beethoven. And even less still, they doesn't get the Dharma. So basically, outside, it's all about desire. It's all about strengthening your desire because it's lucrative, because profit and money is based on desire, and to manipulate you to have even more desire, and then they can have profits. And also hate and ill will and aversion is also willfully strengthened so that you would hate each other, hate the other person, don't see the other person as they are, but as your enemy or something. So it's all about hate and desire, and it's, if you open the internet, it's all there. And what's a big difference is that most of the world, most people get their energy from outside, and everything is directed outside. So even when you don't hate and you don't have much desires, when you go relax, you go to the movies, you go to an amusement park, you go to the mall, because you need energy from outside. I mean, generally people, we do the opposite way. We try to find energy from the inside, and we turn our attention inside and not outside. But why I told you all this? Because the world is not supportive of this. It's supportive of external attention and strengthening of your desire and strengthening of your hatred. Yeah, that's also profitable. So, it's no wonder that it's hard to be in the outside world. Basically, that's the first stage. And then, if you get this, then you don't attach any threatening or disturbing sign to all this. You just try to view all this and the whole world as phenomena, neutral phenomena. You do your practice, they do their life, and you try just to be present, and whenever life would take you more external, because maybe that's the main point here, that you are forced to just be external, then go back to your practice, realize that, okay, it went a little too far, take your attention back, and don't put all these images into the outside things. So the Buddha says in the old scriptures, you always assign a sign to things and phenomena. So maybe I see a beautiful car, I assign some meaning to this object. It's beautiful for me. It's desirable for me. I want it. And then I try to get the money and so on and so forth. But if I realize that it's just an object, it's an impermanent object, and has no substantial nature, I can just take back this beautifulness from it, from this desirableness. And that's the way with all kinds of things. Also people who annoy you, the people who you don't like or make life harder for you, try to just take back all those things which appear in your mind from the object and then work with it in the inside. Of course, this is very, very, very hard. So that's why we have retreat centers. So there is no miracle in it or no special potion I can give you and then it solves your life. You have to think a little like monks. So going back to the joke which I said to you. So the Buddha left home, left everything, and it's no accident. So it's no accident. And that's why in the first Sangha it was very strict. Don't be a householder, leave everything behind and just practice, because that's hard. For the lay people, because of course it's a very small portion of the population who will be monks. It's not a lifestyle for everyone. For the rest of us, we try to emulate this sometimes. So when you come to the retreat, try to be a monk in that regard, that you really come back and don't have sex, don't drink, try to be clear, don't have strong desires and anger, and then just clarify yourself. And back home, do everyday practice, and don't be alone. So that's very, very important, to have the voice of another next to you. It could be a teacher, but it just can be a Dharma friend. So even if you are practicing not alone, but with some friend, it's already better, because you can speak. And even better if you are part of a Sangha. It's not because we want your money and we want to make a cult out of Buddhism. Of course we could, and it could be fun, I think, but no. The Sangha is there to support you, and you are there to support the Sangha. So find like-minded people. The Buddha said in the old times that there is no greater suffering than walking the path with a fool. So if you have foolish people around you, get rid of them. So of course not in a way that the precepts don't allow, but you don't have to be around people who don't support your practice. So do your life, do your job, be there as much as you want or you need to, because you have to earn money and so, but then try to surround yourself back home and in your free time with people who support this kind of lifestyle and this kind of practice and the nurturing of wisdom and samadhi and a right way of living.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hi, thank you for your wonderful teaching.
You're welcome.
And my question is about how can we understand better the Kogans?
Don't try to understand them better.
I mean, okay, how can we get it? I mean, like...
Okay, so...
because every time
you have problems with Kongans. Very good. That's why we have Kongans.
It just takes forever to get like some direction there. So
yeah. So Kongans are a very special tool in our style of Zen. Not every style of Zen has Kongans. So actually, even if maybe by accident you never understand Kongans, you can still wake up. So that's my good news. So don't be anxious or koan anxiety. And then you go to the therapist and then this Zen is killing me. And then you work with what is your feelings with the Kongans? Well, it's okay. So the Kongan trauma is not needed. So it's skillful means. You know, the Buddha always said that you have to teach with skillful means. That means whatever necessary to wake people up. And these clever Chinese masters came up after a time with this style of teaching, the Kongans. And they are not mystical. They are just designed with very clever teachers, with the mind to transmit something to you. It's a way of thinking. I would say it's still a way of thinking, but not the usual logical kind of thinking. This is what the Kongans try to teach you. And there are many different types. So basically, in our style of Kongan interviews, you come and you practice it, and we try to present you a situation where you can be sure that your normal logical thinking won't work, or just very little. Some students pass some Kongans with just logical thinking, but then after some interviews, it's no use anymore. So, so you can try it, but you have to switch. So actually, I could say that what I've learned from Zen, I mean, or experienced from Zen, that was more from the Kongans than the Dharma talks. Dharma talks are very nice. Sometimes depends on the teacher. Sometimes enjoyable, sometimes boring. But yeah, they are needed. They are the basic, the entry point. But then, if you want to get near to the Zen kind of approach, you need these Kongans. At least if you want to understand the mind of Zen Master Seung Sahn, who was the great towering professor of this Kongan style, and you have to do the Kongans, and you have to pass them. And if I would give you the answers, I could give you, but what I would do is rob you of the possibility to experience this kind of function. And that would be very bad karma for me, so I won't do it. So actually, that's why I cannot give you direct help. I mean, like, you know, in mathematics, how to do multiplications or how to do differential equations. I could do that in mathematics, but not in Kongans. So what you have to do is to bear with this frustration, come to the Kongan interviews, and it's good if you can go as much as you can. So when I began, I went every week to a Kongan interview with Chongan Sunim, and it was very frustrating, but you know, there was always some challenge in it. Okay, now I will answer it. Now I will answer it. And so Yeah, in the first parts it was like, you know, I wanted to be the best student, and then I always got the best grades in university, and I thought, okay, now it's Zen. I will be the best, and then of course it was.
Is it also a cultural thing? Like a Korean would answer better than
No.
Western?
No. No, it's not cultural. So maybe sometime, if you come from the original culture, maybe it's harder to do. So I had some interviews with Koreans, 2 maybe, and Chongan Sunim has more experience. If you wear something like this, they will be like this, and they don't try to be engaging with the teacher because they just accept everything. So that's a cultural thing. They have the same Buddha nature as us, so so they can also pass Kongans, and we all have at first different hardships. So maybe Hungarians are a little different, maybe from Israel it's also different, but this is our karma. Actually, what Kongans are is a situation where, if you just get the bare minimum, a situation where your normal logic doesn't function. And after a time, I realized when I did Kongan practice that life is full of such situations. It presents the biggest Kongans. The problem is that if you go to the interview room, there is just some teacher there, and it's no catastrophe if you don't have the answer. They say, okay, homework, and you go away, and then you come back, and you can try again with any problems. But in life, when emotions are involved, your life is sometimes involved, your relationships are involved. Well, like, you know, when your partner asks you, do you still love me? That's a Kongan. Okay, do I look beautiful? Okay, so these Kongans. So when you have incorrect answers there, well, maybe that's just not a little homework. So, so if you look at this way, it's a situation, go there, try to be as clear as possible, and then you see. Maybe after a time it's good to take away the performance anxiety. Like I had to take away my idea that I want to be the best student. I had some partial success in that, but you know, and it's also regarding the first question. So we usually want to do everything perfectly, and it's not possible. And if you can let go of doing it perfectly, or you let go of your fear of failure, or the fear of getting stuck, or something like that, these usual mind processes, then, oh, it can be such a joy. When you just really release all these mind things. So that's why Kongan interview is good. We present you willfully a model situation where you can work with your karma and your relationship to situations where you don't have initially any answer. And then look at yourself and look at what happens inside. And then it's a great tool for practice, and a great tool for that to connect meditation practice with life. Because without Kongans, meditation can get stuck in the Dharma room, meaning here in the Dharma room you're very beautiful, very good practitioner, and you cannot use a milliliter of all the wisdom which you get. So it's hard work, and do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we have this teaching about the 6 realities in Buddhism.
Yeah.
And I was always kind of baffled about it because, okay, there's this human reality, there's this animal reality. Where does another 4 come from? So maybe if you can, if there are 6, so yeah, 4 more.
Yeah.
So
Where does your question come from?
I don't know.
That's very good, but that's where these 6 are also coming from, and they are coming from your mouth now, so.
So why do we teach that? I mean, why is that a
Because
thing?
it's fun.
I don't think it's fun.
Yeah, it's great fun. You can, it's a good teaching tool, I find it sometimes. So, you know, there are many layers how I can answer it, how I can answer this. So, you know, there is a thing called Buddhist cosmology, and Buddhism is also a big culture, also a religion, and has many interesting teachings. And if you look at the sutras, and especially Mahayana sutras, they present multiverses, different beings, and so on and so forth. So that's also partially a teaching tool to so that you don't remain narrow-minded, don't remain just focused on your type of existence, and don't think about how big the universe is, because the universe is very big and we don't see all of it. Actually, what we get from the world is just a very small band of the spectrum. Actually, if you just think about the electromagnetic spectrum, you see electromagnetic waves between 400 nanometers and 800 nanometers. If I present to you the whole spectrum of electromagnetic waves, that's a tiny part. And you have gamma rays, X-rays, you have infrared radiation, radio waves, microwaves, and so on and so forth. So we don't see these. Consequently, all kinds of beings can exist. That's one answer I can give you. The other answer is that this is also integral part of Mahayana traditions, where they also teach this like examples for mind states, states of mind where you can be. Actually, if you look at your life and look at the life of others, you can discern when you have a human mind, but sometimes we have animal mind. Like, I see that much in big cities. I see several people who just act like animal. There's no beautiful way to say it. Usually, you know, we have Zen practice in the middle of Budapest, and Budapest is not the worst city in the world. There are worse capital cities, but I usually go on the busiest tramway to the Zen practice, and especially after 10 p.m., it can get really rough. You have all kinds of people coming from parties, going to parties, doing drugs and all that, and we have all kinds of criminal people there, and I sometimes see, like, you know, animals acting. Yeah, sometimes you have to call the police and so forth. So, yeah, that's there. When you think about the hungry ghosts, they are beautifully constructed in the teaching, you know. They have big bellies, very small neck, and they have very, very big desires, always desiring something, but they cannot swallow anything. So they are thirsty, they are hungry, but they cannot swallow anything because it gets stuck in their mouth, and then they cannot swallow it and they die or had great pain. Well, this is like drug addicts or addicts of any kind, alcohol addicts. They are like these hungry ghosts. They get so addicted to something that they always want that, but they cannot really satisfy their desire, which is all-encompassing. And if they drink much, they have to drink even more, and then sometimes they die. So that's that. And you can also have the realm of the hell creatures. That's even worse. And of course, on the other end, you can have the gods, you can have the half-gods, and this is basically a realm where you have very good karma. You make very good karma. Maybe you are reborn as a half-god or a god. And maybe the gods are, you know, like a island in the tropical regions like the Maldives. You go there, there is a wonderful resort with clear beaches. You always have much to drink, cocktails. You just lie down and all these waiters are coming. What do you need, sir? And you can buy it because you have all the money you need. Well, you look around, we have many billionaires and they have no problem with living. So you can have also God-like mind, or you are always happy and you have good karma. So, but that also has a problem because it's inside the realm of karma. So good karma ends sometimes. You deplete it. And then you fall back, you lose your money, you go bankrupt, and then there you are, old, but you never practiced, and well, that's maybe even worse than it was. So actually you can detect these kinds of mind in people. So basically the teaching is to realize good karma for what it is, realize bad karma for what it is, see where it leads. If you look at the 6 realms, it's very picturesque, so it remains in your mind, especially if you look at these Wheel of Life depictions, which they have in the Tibetan tradition. You have basically the 6 things there and all the other parts of the teaching. Look at it. You have very good depictions in the internet. I suggest you look at it, and it's very beautiful. So you see all kinds of interesting things there, and then use it for your practice. You don't have to believe that these exist. Just be open and then realize when you are God, realize when you are a human being, realize when you are a hungry ghost or a hellish something or an animal, and then just get back here. And then all this disappears, because basically everything is created by mind alone. And according to the teaching, this realization can be best we can get this realization when we are human beings. Here it's not so comfortable, but also not so bad. So we can see life for what it is. Suffering, impermanent, and without any self-nature. So if you get this, then you can move freely in all kinds of states. And then maybe, if you become a great teacher, you become like Zen Master Seung San, and maybe you will answer as he did when he was asked, okay, Zen Master, when you die, where do you go? He said, he had many answers for that, but one of his answers to this was, well, I will be reborn in hell. In hell? Zen Master, you are one of the greatest teachers. Why do you go into hell? Because I will have the next Zen center there. So, you know, in hell you need the Zen center, so maybe you will go there to teach. So, yeah, that's the 6 realms, and you have realms also in this kind of thinking where you don't have to be born. So it's in the different, the higher part. These are the realm of the Buddhas, but Buddhas appear also in all kinds of realms. So practice as much as you want. One just small thing, one of my colleagues said to me that just for the, you know, to get the animal situation in a better light. One of my colleagues said to me once that if I want to give good relationship advice and good marriage advice, then if I would say one thing to wives, is that wives, consider your husbands as dogs and treat your husbands as dogs. So How do you treat a good dog? Oh, so nice dog. Oh, I give you food. I give you everything. So try to try this out in your relationship. Maybe that will be a Zen thing. Treat your partner as a dog. Okay? Yeah, try it. Maybe. Maybe a cat or something like that. Okay, so that's the animal.
Thank you very much.
I don't feel I'm ready to pass on the teaching, but yet I say every morning the first vow to save all beings. How can I save all beings, especially if most people are ignorant?
Yeah, I understand your question. This vow can be very frustrating, especially when you really look around you and, well, most people are not receptive to more wisdom-led lifestyle. That's a fact. So basically what you can do is practice and try to clear your mind. Because basically you only have influence on yourself. You cannot change even your partner. We sometimes try it. We try to treat our partners different than dogs, because dogs we don't want to change, but you know, well, so you cannot, so even if they change, it's just, you know, some forced kind of thing, and it's no good. So basically you can change yourself. And when you look at the smallest kind of society, like a partnership or a marriage or something, when you change, the other person may also change because you change the situation. If you become more peaceful, more relaxed, more serene, more blissful, more wholesome, that will have an effect on all the people who are around you. Because maybe you don't spark conflicts, or if you have conflicts, you make it more peaceful. And then you already did help beings around you. And I come back to my earlier advice, don't try to be a perfectionist. For a perfectionist and an idealist, this Zen thing, this Mahayana thing, let's save all beings from suffering, it's like, yeah, red flag, okay, I come. But, you know, you cannot save everyone. But you must try. Actually, the meaning of all this Mahayana thing is that the realization that if you just become too focused on yourself, that's also a problem. That will get in the way sooner or later. So actually, that's why we have this vow. So your own liberation and the liberation of others, it's interconnected. So actually you cannot be separately liberated, because we are all connected in a very, very deep way. And actually, if we believe the teachings, that's just a passing illusion that you think that you listen to me and I speak to you. Of course, now we have all this kind of, you know, like the waves on the ocean. And the waves sometimes think that they are separate than the ocean, but then the waves go to the shore, and the wave is nearing the shore, and then he begins to have fear. Oh my God, I will die! I will die! And then new waves come. So, but the ocean is there. So actually, that's why, like, the wave cannot be separated, and then it goes into the space, and there is a separate wave. You cannot be separately there. So you are interconnected, and when you work on yourself, and you think about all the other beings and you have this great direction, you won't become selfish, and that's good. So that's a big danger in all our practice. It comes in many forms, but we usually become selfish and then somehow focus only on ourselves because we love ourselves, seemingly love ourselves more than anyone else. And you have to get out of this, and other people help in that regard, because as we already discussed earlier, if you are, for instance, here, you have mirrors. Everyone is reflected, everyone is reflecting you, and you reflect them back. Maybe this reflection is sometimes a little diluted, but still you have it, and we help each other. If you are just all alone, sometimes I speak with people who, you know, get high on Buddhism and they just try to practice back home, and they are alone in a flat, an apartment, and they just practice, practice, practice. It's very hard to get to them, and very hard to, you know, they think that they are on the right way, but they cannot connect to maybe an environment like this. So that's the danger when you are too much focused on yourself. So that's why we have this vow. But don't be too anxious about it. So if you have always this mind to other beings, how may I help you? That's already a big, 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 big help. Because, yeah, most people don't have this attitude. But if you do have this, and that's my personal experience, even very hard karmas, very aggressive people can at least be more peaceful. So if you don't have attitudes, if you just try to be humble, you try to have loving kindness in the direction of others, that creates peace. And that's good. So actually, if you think about this vow like this, that it basically means the attitude of loving kindness to all beings and the deep wish that, well, other beings should also reach happiness and become liberated, that helps you. Actually, the Buddha, in the early teachings, thought many methods to meditation and to reach a peaceful mind. All kinds of samadhi things and jhana things, but he also said that if you practice loving kindness to others, that alone can lead you to a very deep meditative state. So it helps your practice and your sitting and your chanting if you have this. It's a good story around the Metta Sutta, which is the loving kindness sutta in the Pali Canon, where it's described by the Buddha, this loving kindness. So it's basically a speech, a Dharma talk about loving kindness. He gave this when monks came to the Buddha, and they were trying to do practice in forest. But they were sitting, they found a nice forest for practice, but then, after some days, they realized that in this forest, these forest ghosts are living. And the forest ghosts were not happy with the monks. They were happy without any monk practicing there, so they began to harass the monks, and they tried to, you know, get rid of the monks. So the monks went to the Buddha and said, "Oh, great teacher, we want to practice, but these ghosts are there, and they are trying to get rid of us. What to do?" And then the Buddha said, well, loving kindness. Try to radiate this loving kindness to all ghosts in the forest. And then he said, okay, I give you some words about this and chant this sutta there. So they went there, they chanted all night and all day, and, well, the ghosts became peaceful. And they could live together, and the monks practiced, and the ghosts did ghost things in the forest. So actually, that's an early example for this kind of mind, for all beings, They could be hungry ghosts, they could be forest ghosts, human beings, dogs, husbands, wives, children. If you have all these in mind, then your practice is on the middle way, on the right track.
Also, I'd like to thank you for your wonderful teachings. And my question is pointing that when the United States opened its gate in the 1970s, after that many yogis, gurus, masters arrived in the country. And the people start to do yoga, meditation, qigong, asanas, and so on. And the scientists and many studies start to search in those areas, in those districts. And the result was less criminals, less murdering, less thief. And my question is, could that possible? We are meditating here. And could we affect to the another village? Because we are here a lot, 40, 70 people sometimes. Could we affect, like with frequency resonation to the next village or our neighbors? Is it possible, or it have to be really close?
Well, give me some measuring band or something, and give me the instruments to measure this, and then I will answer it. So, yeah, you know, if you do practice, it will certainly make your environment more peaceful. So, well, that's one thing for you. Yeah, I know, or I already heard some things about this, that, yeah, in a village they meditated and it became better. But basically, the first and foremost motivation should be to get liberated from suffering. And that begins with us. So, and that's a hard job. So, yeah, we can always, you know, have this direction inside, and you can have this vow, which we also like really say it, that, yeah, sentient beings are numberless, we vow to save them all. May all beings get happiness and liberation. We can have these things. We can say them, we can vow them. And it's good to have this kind of mind. So you can think about all the people, also the people who you don't like, and radiate something in their direction, like this, and not hatred. That will be certainly helpful for your practice. But other than that, if you get too entangled in, you know, making an effect or changing the word or something else, we may lose the direction of really changing ourselves. And we begin to externalize, and we get our attention outside, and after a time it may not be very helpful. So in Zen, we don't really, you know, measure these things, that, okay, then how is Esztergom doing after 10 years of original light temple? So, well, and you can think about also Buddhism. It fluctuates, you know. Since the Buddha, there were smaller numbers of practitioners, bigger numbers of practitioners. There were Buddhist nations, then non-Buddhist nations, and it always changed. So, you know, do you know where the oldest scriptures were found in Buddhism? It was present-day Afghanistan. So back in the day, there was a big practicing community in Afghanistan. And now look at Afghanistan. So, well, it always changes. Everything is impermanent. And actually, it's like, you know, it's fitting that, well, it may be, there was found a big monastery in Afghanistan some years ago, and then I think it was more or less destroyed in the wars. So, well, you go, impermanence. So we always have to do it, the current living generation practice. If you hear the Dharma and you have inclination to practice, then do it. And how will it affect the world? Well, we don't know. But if we have the inclination to do it, then do it. And radiate as much compassion and loving kindness to the others as you can, and try to infuse your interactions, real interactions with people through these great emotions. And then that can help. I say that when you already have 2, 3 people around you, that's already very, very good job. Because there are so many people who really, yeah, it's ignorance basically, but they create suffering. And I don't just mean people who create the wars and all that. When I listen to people, normal mothers, fathers, they create so much suffering because of ignorance. And if you do something else, that's a great wonder. So focus on that, I would say. And then I'm sure it will have effect also on the outside world.
Would you please elaborate more on the Buddha saying that everything is created by the mind? If you could also address the physical realm. I mean, I know matter is, you know, with all the aspects, you would be kind enough to address it, so I can understand. I do not understand it.
Which part you don't understand?
The fact that we create, that we see the boundaries or the forms, that the forms are created by the mind, I can understand. That the boundaries between forms, the shapes, everything, and this I can understand. I can also understand that we project our mind, our notions, ideas, etc., on objects, which basically are created. Even the objects are created by the mind, and then we, you know, project ourselves or our minds, our notions on these objects. But I'm more. I think this is what I understand. Okay. But I'm interested, does it also relate to, let's say, the sun? Is it created by the mind, or the mind? Is it created by the mind? It troubles me. It's not like, you know...
Is your mind and the sun same or different? Well, that's good. It's already a kind of answer. So, you know, if you look at the Buddha statue, what color is the Buddha statue?
Gold.
Very good. That's how mind creates reality. Even if I say Buddha statue, that's already my creation.
This I understand.
Yeah, so basically, we have all kinds of, you know, sense organs. We have a mind. We have also, you know, in the Buddhist teaching, the mind itself is, I mean, consciousness and your brain, it's also a sense organ, like the eye or the ear or the tongue. But, you know, with our consciousness, we sense ideas and ideations. So basically, if you have this system, you see the world in a certain way. And humans, we see the world in a certain kind of way. You know, with the electromagnetic spectrum, only a small part, from the mechanical waves, only a small part, which we call sound. And the ants or the dogs have ant world, dog word because their system is very different. So that's how you create your word. It's a complex process. If I try to address it in a more philosophical way, and basically this teaching is trying first to help you get less attached to ideas and less attached to the view, how you view the world. Because many suffering originates from our belief, ignorant belief that how I see the world and how I label it and how I think of it, that's the truth. That's how it is. And then I attach to all these senses and ideas, and then I cannot let go. Like if I attach to this Zen stick and I keep it here because I like it or something, I cannot put it down and I cannot use my hand for different things. So basically, what is needed is a very elastic kind of mind. And your question was a little philosophical, on the philosophical side, and that is a kind of attachment in the brain. I have great compassion for that because I do it a lot. I'm also a philosophy type of guy, so sometimes I enjoy getting attached to, you know, ideas and thinking all these kinds of things. But for the practice, it is skillful to focus on problems and aspects of all these, which helps you alleviate suffering, your suffering. So the Buddha also answered sometimes questions with silence. And these great philosophical questions like, was the universe created or not? Is there a creator or not? Things like this. He didn't answer. He, you know, said nothing. And then when they asked him, he said, okay, listen guys, I teach the fact of suffering, why suffering is there and how to get out of it. That's the most important thing. And I could say that in my experience, maybe the Buddha was right. So basically, that's also my experience. When I can alleviate some suffering, then also my thinking gets simpler. And then I don't have much problems with things like that. So this mind creating everything outside of the psychological and philosophical realm, it's better understood in the context of your suffering and how to get out of it and how you create your suffering. Basically, this teaching gives you tools and possibilities, because if you think like more religiously, and I don't say that religion is inherently bad, but maybe you can have, you know, suffering is coming from outside or something like that. But actually, it's always defined by our co-creation, at least, with the outside factors. Even if you have a very bad person in your life who really, really, really hurts you, even then, your part is your doing. Suffering is your creation, even if the other person is very bad to you, because in the least you could say, okay, I get out of here and I will see this person never again. So I would focus your question in this direction, because also my experience is that's more helpful. And then, of course, the sun is still shining. And even if we think about it or not, it comes up and then it goes down. So, well, I don't know if you're satisfied with that, but even if you're not satisfied, that's good because you have the don't know mind. Well, is there a sound without me or not? And then that gets you back to meditation.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I think that was all for today. I thank you for your nice questions, and I really enjoyed it because you had very, very good questions and very philosophical questions, which is, as I said, a great perk of mine, so I like it. So it was a pleasure to practice with you, with all of you. It's so nice to have always mixed groups because, you know, sometimes we practice and we know people, but when we sit together, it's always a different energy and it always makes the practice more lively. So I hope you come back soon, and I hope you did enjoy the practice, even though sometimes it's not enjoyable. And I hope that our common effort here will have effects on your life, on the life of your families, on the life of your group, on the life of your nation and the whole world. And we together radiate all this wisdom and loving kindness which we can get as fruits from our practice and create something better. And I think that's how a human life can get really meaningful. I struggled a lot when I was young, a lot with the meaning questions, so I didn't feel any meaning in life. And then, I don't know if there is a meaning, but for the time being, doing this and not creating suffering and creating wholesomeness is not such a bad thing. You can lay down and then have good dreams and sleep soundly and don't have so much anxiety. So I hope we can go together and we can really save ourselves from suffering and save all beings from suffering. Thank you for your attention.